Но я не хочу никого обижать, боже упаси. Так звучит, конечно, прозвучит не очень хорошо. Я все-таки спрашиваю у своих коллег, у экспертов, я говорю, а вот чего в Европе не хватает вот сейчас? Ответ такой, мозгов вам не хватает.
This is my video update on this Friday early evening, November the 8th. Let's talk about some news. And let's talk about the Valdai conference and what Russian President Putin said at Valdai, an event that takes place every year in Sochi. And this year, Putin, he spoke for over 4 hours. He was speaking and taking questions for about 4 hours and 20 minutes or 30 minutes, a marathon session from the Russian president. And he was confident and in a good mood. At least that's the way it looked to me. He talked about BRICS. He talked about Project Ukraine. He talked about the EU, the Europeans, and he also congratulated Trump. He congratulated Trump on his election victory. Politico ran the title, Putin says he's ready to pick up if manly Trump calls him. Because it's such a bad thing to be manly nowadays. So if manly Trump calls up manly Putin, then Putin will pick up. And being manly is a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But Politico, they make it seem like this is a bad thing, manly Trump. So Putin said, and I quote, I take this opportunity to congratulate him, Trump, on his election as President of the United States of America. And Putin said that if Trump called, he would pick up the phone and talk to the president-elect. And Putin said that he was impressed with the way Trump responded to being shot at during an attempted assassination in July. Quote, he turned out to be a courageous man, the Russian leader said. He showed himself, in my opinion, in a very correct way. Courageous and manly. Yeah, absolutely. Trump spoke to NBC News, and he was asked about talking to Putin. And Trump said, sure. He said, yeah, he would speak to Putin. He said, quote, I think we will speak. Good signs, very good signs. That's what we need to not only solve the conflict in Ukraine, that's what we need to solve all of Europe. Once and for all, put together an architecture that takes the interests of the United States, of Russia, and of Europe. Why not? And of Europe into consideration. I'm joking. That takes the interests of Europe, Russia, and the United States into consideration. Putin talking to Trump. Why not? That's a good thing. Putin did say that if there is going to be any beginning of a negotiation with Ukraine, with Trump, with the president-elect and future president, then the starting point is a neutral Ukraine. Ukraine can never get into NATO. That is what Putin said. Never get into NATO. Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. No no 10-minute, no 10 minutes, no 10-hour freeze, no 20, what am I saying? No 10-year freeze. That dog distracted me. No 10-year freeze, no 20-year freeze, no 30-year freeze, none of that stuff. It has to be permanent forever. Putin didn't get into any details as to what exactly that would entail. Would it go into the Constitution? It would have to be a new government. Obviously, you couldn't solve Ukraine with the current Alinsky regime, and he didn't get into any details with regards to the current territories that he considers Russian territory, that are, according to the Russian Constitution, now part of Russia. We're talking about Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporozhye, Kherson. He didn't get into all of those details, but I would imagine that if you're going to start negotiations on Project Ukraine, if you're the Trump administration, Putin would require no NATO for Ukraine permanently, and the 4 new regions would have to be accepted by the United States, by the new entity that would be Ukraine. If you got negotiations going, that they would have to be recognized as Russian territory. I imagine that would be the baseline, the minimum required by Russia in order to begin negotiations. He didn't get into the details of that, rightly so. There's no reason to get into the details of it all, but he was very clear that NATO with NATO for Ukraine is out of the question. Freezing the conflict, out of the question. He was very clear on that. So he talked about the Europeans. Didn't say anything nice about the Europeans, the Russian president. You can tell he's very upset with the leaders in Europe. He talked about how they lied to Russia. There's no trust anymore. Minsk 1, Minsk 2, how the Europeans used that agreement, that if it was enforced, we would never be in this mess. If the Europeans actually enforced it, if the collective West actually enforced the Minsk agreements, we wouldn't be where we are today. But he talked about how the Europeans, Angela Merkel, they have admitted that Minsk was just a way for them to buy time, to arm Ukraine to the teeth, and to use Ukraine as a battering ram against Russia. So you could tell that Putin was very, very, very upset, very bitter, betrayed. Betrayed's a good word. Betrayed by the Europeans. He doesn't want anything to do with the EU. It's obvious. He said they have a lack of brains. That's a quote. He said they have a lack of brains. Is he wrong? Is he wrong about that? The EU leaders have a lack of brains. Does Ursula have a lack of brains? Annalena, Olaf Scholz, the pirate. Is the pirate lacking a brain? Let's see what he said, what Putin said. Let's get a good quote from Putin here. Talking at Valdai about the EU leaders. Quote, "When I talk to my colleagues and experts, I don't want to offend anyone, but I often ask them what the EU lacks. They answer that it lacks brains." Yeah. Is he wrong? I don't think he's wrong. I don't know. Annalena's really good at math. I mean, come on, Putin. Annalena is a math genius. How can you say that? Oh boy. So that was pretty much what Putin said. I mean, we could do many shows on everything that Putin said. He spoke for 4.5 hours. We did a video on the Duran, and we get into a little bit more detail. Alexander gets into more detail. I'm sure that Alexander, in his video update, he'll get into a lot more detail about what Putin said at Valdai than I am saying. But the basic summary is that Putin is confident. Russia is winning. He's ready to talk to Trump. He congratulated Trump on his election win. He praised Trump for his courage and for his manliness. This is a good thing. This is what you want from a leader of your country. You want a leader of your country to be courageous. And if he's a man, you want him to be manly. It's not a bad thing. And he talked about the EU lacking brains. Ukraine must remain out of NATO and neutral. There's going to be no conflict freezes or any nonsense like that. There's going to be no EU forces in Ukraine in some demilitarized zone. None of that stuff. None of the ideas and plans that are being floated out there by the neocons and the mainstream media that I've been covering on this channel yesterday and in previous videos. Forget about all of that stuff. Let's start from NATO neutral and accepting the realities on the ground, which is Russia's winning, and Russia has 4 new regions in the Russian Federation, along with Crimea. Putin did say something interesting, actually, which I would like your thoughts in the comments below. Putin talked about Kursk. He talked about Kursk. And he mentioned that Kursk is a disaster for Ukraine. We know that. He said they're suffering colossal, that's a quote, colossal losses. He said that the Ukraine people are paying a terrible price, that's a quote, for Kiev's decision to go into Kursk and stay into Kursk. Now, here's the interesting part. Putin said that they stayed in Kursk on the orders of the Biden White House, so that there was no collapse in Kursk until after the US elections. And then he talked about the Ukraine casualties in Kursk. So let me read you what he said about Kursk, and then we'll move on to Germany and the EU meeting in Budapest and that news. He said, quote, "Just look at what is happening now at the front line. They raided the Kursk region. Well, their losses are colossal. In just 3 months of fighting, the Kiev regime suffered more casualties than in the whole last year, over 30,000. How do you read that? What do you make of that statement from Putin? 30,000 casualties in 3 months is huge. That's a huge number. If you believe that, fine. If you don't believe that, even if it's 20,000 or 25,000, that's still a huge number of casualties just in Kursk, just in 3 months in that one region. But the interesting line from what Putin said is, he said that this 30,000 is more casualties than in the whole of last year for Kiev, for the Kiev regime. Is Putin saying that in 2023, Ukraine had less than 30,000 casualties? That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. I would like your thoughts on that. Maybe this is a misquote, but it is coming from Russia Today. That was an interesting statement. And Putin said that it was on the U.S.'s orders. He did say that. On the U.S.'s orders, on the Biden White House's orders to stay in Kursk. Doesn't matter how many soldiers are lost, how much equipment is lost. It was all a PR exercise. They couldn't get the power plant. It was a failure. And instead of pulling out, the Biden White House, they ordered Alinsky to stay in Kursk. And don't you dare leave Kursk until after the elections, I imagine, in order to not embarrass not only the Biden White House, but the Harris campaign. So that was an interesting statement from the Russian president. Let's now talk about Germany. What is going on with Germany? What kind of Alinsky curse did Annalena bring back from Kiev? My God. My God, Annalena, what did you do to Pirate Schultz and the Traffic Light Coalition? Things are crumbling in Germany. So yesterday I reported that the pirate, he would like the CDU, led by Friedrich Merz. He would like Merz from the CDU to support the SPD and Olaf Scholz in a vote of confidence, which he wants scheduled for January. And if there is no confidence, then an election. But Scholz was asking Merz to create a coalition, and it would be the SPD, the CDU, I don't know, the Greens, and they would govern going forward. Well, Merz, he shut that down. He wants nothing to do with Scholz. He wants nothing to do with some sort of coalition. Actually, Merz doesn't even want to wait until January for a confidence vote. Doesn't want to wait. He wants power now. He wants the confidence vote to take place in the next couple of weeks and elections after that. He says that Germany can't continue like this, to be governed by the SPD and the Greens. And he's not supporting the pirate. How can you not be supporting the pirate? Everyone loves the pirate. You guys like the pirate? I like the pirate. We all like the pirate. Come on, Merz. Merz is a nasty guy. Friedrich Merz is a nasty, nasty guy. He's the one that a couple of weeks ago, he threatened Russia. He actually gave Russia an ultimatum. We're walking through the cemetery at night. Ooh. I wonder if we're going to see any spirits as we walk through the cemetery in Nicosia at night. But yeah, Merz, he gave Russia an ultimatum. He said either Russia capitulates, like now, that was his ultimatum, capitulate now, or if he was in control, then Taurus missiles to Alinsky. Merz, not a good dude, that Friedrich Merz. He wants power. He wants power now. So Olaf Scholz is in trouble. The Traffic Light Coalition in big trouble. And then we got the information that the government collapsed, not only because of the budget, but because the finance minister, who was fired by Olaf Scholz, Lindner, he didn't want to give more money to Project Ukraine. And he preferred instead to send Taurus missiles to the Alinsky regime, while Olaf Scholz, he wanted more money to Ukraine, even though they have a budget crisis. They're in recession. Germany's out of money, in recession, economy a mess. Olaf Scholz preferred not sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine and instead giving Alinsky money. And according to Lindner, this is when the wheels came off. Lindner wanted to go. He wanted to split. His party wanted out of the Traffic Light Coalition. They can see what a disaster it is. They can see what a disaster Germany has become, and they don't want to be associated with Olaf Scholz and Annalena and Habeck. And they wanted out, and Lindner being fired was just what they needed, the excuse they needed to ditch the Traffic Light Coalition. But man, Germany is destroying itself over Project Ukraine. I mean, the entire German government is completely fixated, obsessed, focused with Project Ukraine. It's even tearing the government apart. Incredible, man. Destroying your country for Alinsky. Xi Jinping congratulated Putin, by the way, in a message, not in a phone call. So we had that news as well. Should we talk about what is happening in Budapest? There's this EU meeting that is taking place, a summit that is taking place in Budapest. I believe it has ended. By today, it ended, but everyone was there. Orban hosting the event. Alinsky was there. Macron was there, and he gave a big old hug to Orban. Orban did shake Alinsky's hand, though it was a quick shake. Hopefully there'll be no Alinsky curses hitting Orban. Let's hope. I think Orban has developed a natural immunity to the Alinsky curse. Stammer was there, and he came late to a meeting, so Orban wasn't there to greet the most boring man in the world, Keir Starmer. But everyone was there. Rutte was there, and he said that the new NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, he said that he agrees with Trump. The EU, the NATO members, they should spend more on defense, more than, the 2%? Of course, what else is Rutte going to say? More money to NATO. That's what he is agreeing with Trump on. And he's looking to have a conversation with Trump and talk about things. Talk about more money to NATO. But the interesting part of the conversation, I believe, when it does happen, is that Trump is going to disappoint Rutte in a way. He's going to make Rutte happy in one way by saying that NATO members are going to have to up their spending to more than 2%. So that's going to make NATO very happy. But he's also going to say that the U.S. can't continue to spend on NATO and can't continue to be the only country that is pouring money and weapons and security into the alliance. That's going to upset many NATO members. But we had this meeting in Budapest, and Alinsky, as he was speaking to the media, speaking to other world leaders as well, he said that when he was asked about funding, money going to Project Ukraine, especially now that Trump is president, and the possibility is that a lot of the money going to Ukraine is going to be cut off, Alinsky said that he has an idea. He has a brilliant idea. How about that $300 billion? Why not, he said. Why not just give me the $300 billion in Russian frozen assets in Brussels in Euroclear? No joke. No joke. That is Alinsky's idea. If money starts to dry up, how about 300 billion? Why not? Why not? So that was an interesting statement from Alinsky. Not going to happen, man. Well, maybe not going to happen. I don't know. The EU has done dumber things. They definitely would like to get their hands on that money. 10% for the big guy as well, but boy, would that cause all kinds of problems for the collective West. Legal problems. Other problems as well. All kinds of problems. But Alinsky, he is eyeing that 300 billion. You know, Orban, he is the man. He actually said, I need some water. He actually said that the 50 billion loan that supposedly was agreed on, you know, the loan that I've talked about in previous videos, 30 billion from the EU, 20 or 15 billion from the US, and 5 billion from the UK, and a couple billion from Canada. This whole loan that was going to Ukraine. Orban said now with the election, he's calling that loan into question. He says, you know, maybe we should rethink that 50 billion loan that we were going to make to Ukraine. Alinsky's flipping out, man. He is not happy with Hungary. Not happy at all with Hungary. Actually, Alinsky even said that there was a security guarantee that he wanted Orban to sign. You know, all the bilateral security guarantees that he signs with all of the collective West countries. And he said they'd actually left the agreement for Orban to sign, and Orban would not sign it. And this left Alinsky very, very upset. Very upset. He doesn't understand why Hungary doesn't want to sign the bilateral agreement, security agreement. He said it's disrespectful. It shows no respect to Alinsky, the fact that Orban doesn't want to sign it. You know what Alinsky's trying to do by signing all of these are useless security agreements. They're not treaties. They don't bind a country to come to Ukraine's aid should something happen. Basically, they're just agreements which say that the country is going to try and give Ukraine more money and more weapons and security, but it's not binding. And Ukraine reciprocates in the agreements. Ukraine says, yeah, we'll give you protection and stuff like that, and security, military protection and security. Anyway, he's been signing all of these agreements with all of these collective West countries and all of these EU countries, but Orban doesn't want to sign it. What Alinsky is trying to do, he's trying to get all the signatures of all the NATO member states so that when the time comes, he can just present the stack of signatures of bilateral security agreements with NATO member states and say, I'm pretty much already in NATO, so why not make it official? That is what he wants to say. Why not make it official? Hey, Podolyak, let's just make it official. I've got all of these agreements already signed. What are you guys waiting for? That's why he's trying to collect all the signatures. He's kind of trying to weasel his way into getting into NATO, or at least making an argument that he should get into NATO. But Orban is not biting. He's saying, nope, not interested. And then just to put the cherry on top of the cake, Orban said that Trump is going to stop the money to Alinsky. He said the U.S. will abandon Ukraine. The situation on the front line is obvious. It's a military defeat. The Americans will get out of this war. That is what Orban said in a radio interview. Europe alone cannot finance this war. Ouch. Alinsky definitely did not want to hear that. That is something he definitely did not want to hear. Yeah, and Orban probably right. He's talked to Trump. They've definitely talked about Ukraine. He's the only leader that has also talked to Putin. He went to Moscow. He also went to China. He went to Mar-a-Lago. The EU leaders, they shunned him and ridiculed him. But now Orban is the only EU leader, the only one that can call up Trump directly, that Trump trusts and Trump can talk to, and he can advise Trump as to how to approach Project Ukraine. That's why he's saying this. And he's the only one that can pick up the phone and call Putin. And Putin will listen to him. And he can also pick up the phone and call Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping will listen to him. The only one in Europe. He's the only leader in Europe that can talk to all of these countries. He's put himself in such a strong position. Orban is the leader of the EU. He's the leader of the EU. Sorry, Macron. Sorry, Ursula. Orban completely outmaneuvered everybody in a very smart way because he saw what was coming. He saw that Ukraine was going to lose. He knew it. He knew it. And that's why he's saying this. That's why he's saying that Trump is going to pull the money out of Project Ukraine, stop funding Project Ukraine, because Orban understands that the Pentagon and Trump and Trump's advisors, they know that Ukraine has lost. And Trump being a businessman, why would you keep on investing tens of billions, hundreds of billions in such a lost endeavor? Why do it? And it's Orban's way of also advising Trump. Let's wind this thing down. So he's kind of talking to Trump in a way by making this statement. He's signaling to Trump, pull your money. He's telling the Europeans that Trump is going to end the money to Ukraine, but he's also telling Trump, let's end the money to Ukraine because you shouldn't be dealing with Ukraine as Trump, as the US. Let's stop the money, let's wind down the money and just leave it to me. The Europeans will sort this out, and I can talk to Moscow, I can talk to China, and we'll get a solution. But the money, the way to get a solution is to stop the money. Alinsky will be forced to accept a solution. Yeah, so that is what Orban said. Macron at this event, oh, this is great. Macron at this EU event, he said that the EU needs to become omnivores. Omnivores, no joke. From Politico, Macron to Europe. We need to become omnivores after Trump's victory. That's right, omnivores, according to Macron. For me, it's simple, he said. The world is made up of herbivores and carnivores. If we decide to remain herbivores, then the carnivores will win, and we will be a market for them, he told European leaders at the gathering in Budapest. I think, at the very least, we should choose to become omnivores. I don't want to be aggressive, just that we know how to defend ourselves on all these subjects. Macron wants to eat some meat. He wants some meat, maybe some veggies as well. We can eat some veggies, but let's make sure that we also eat our meat. We got Jungle Joseph talking about the garden and the jungle. Now we have Macron. Actually, let's go around this way. Now we have Macron talking about omnivores and herbivores and carnivores. These guys are so ridiculous, man. So ridiculous. Macron also said that now with Trump's win, he has a new reason to be, a new reason to exist, a new goal to work at, which is to make sure that the EU can stand on its own, to not be dependent on the US. That's his new reason to be, Macron. Macron wants to be Napoleon of Europe. He wants to be the leader of Europe. And now that Trump is the president of the United States, Macron is making the argument that it's time for Europe to break free and stand on its own 2 feet, being led by Emanuel Macron. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. The European Union, led by Macron. Someone should tell Macron that the leader of Europe is now Orban. I don't think he got the memo. Boy, is he going to be upset. How did Orban beat me out to the leadership of Europe? What happened? How did he outsmart me? He outsmarted you. He outplayed you. That's what happened. You were busy sending money and weapons to Ukraine, and Orban was busy conducting diplomacy. Macron. So that's Macron with his Jupiter Napoleon dreams. Now that Trump is US president, it's time for Macron to assume the leadership of Europe. So I think that's everything from this meeting in Budapest. Yeah. Ukraine media is very worried. They're saying that Alinsky is going to be forced to accept a deal. They're saying if Trump tells Alinsky to make a deal, or if the money stops, then Alinsky's screwed. That's what the Ukraine media is saying. That's what Alinsky's inner circle is also leaking out to the media. Alinsky's very worried about Trump. He understands that if he has to make a deal, he's cooked. He knows it. But if the money stops from Trump, or if the Trump White House says, make a deal, say that you're going to remain neutral, except the four new regions in Russia and Crimea, sign that document, Alinsky's going to be forced to sign it. So they're worried. They are worried in Kiev. They're trying to put on a brave face, but they're worried. They're panicking. Absolutely. Politico, they put out an interesting article, very interesting article, where they highlight what European leaders, actually what leaders from around the world, not even European leaders, what leaders from around the world said about Trump before he won the elections, and how they're kissing his butt now that he has won the US elections. I never expected this type of article coming from Politico. This is Politico Europe, actually. Europe's leaders congratulated Trump, but here's what they said about him before. Divisive, sociopath, false and dangerous. Europe's leaders haven't been shy about criticizing Trump in the past. Yeah, did they say some nasty stuff about Trump? They thought Harris was going to win. They thought that the lawfare was going to sideline Trump, was going to put Trump in prison. They believed all of it. They believed all of it. Remember when Macron made that statement? Was it a year ago when Macron said that Trump is not going to be president? Something like that. I forgot what the exact quote was from Macron. Don't worry, Trump will never be president, or something like that. Or we'll make sure Trump is not president. Or they will make sure Trump doesn't win the election. I forgot what he said. But boy, did leaders of the world say nasty things about Trump, thinking that he would never, ever become the 47th president of the United States. And Politico, they outline all of this. They list all the leaders and everything that they said before and after the election. They talk about David Lammy. Ooh, David Lammy. He said some really nasty stuff about Trump. Really, really nasty. David Lammy. Keir Starmer, no better. Keir Starmer, no better. UK in deep trouble. In deep trouble. Ursula von der Leyen, Van der Crazy. Boy, did she say some nasty stuff. This is all Politico, by the way, saying this. Politico says that Van der Leyen was very much against Trump. Deeply concerned about Trump's remarks. Aghast. She was aghast about some of the remarks that Trump would make. I'm aghast about Trump. He says things that are very concerning. Tatters, I tell you, that Trump. Yeah. She sent her congratulations to Trump, Ursula. Now she's congratulating Trump. Talking about how the US and Europe must combine forces to rule the world. 800 million people strong. Let's combine forces and rule the world. Donald Trump, me and you, Ursula and Trump. Together we can rule. We can rule. Yeah. Politico said that she said some nasty stuff. Donald Tusk. Ooh, Tusk. Tusk, you bad boy. You said some really bad stuff about Trump. Not only did Tusk say some bad stuff about Trump, it's on video. He was at an event, and the whole thing was put on video. All the nasty stuff he was saying about Trump before the election. Now he's talking about Poland's very good relationship with the United States. Yeah, he mocked Trump. According to Politico, he mocked Trump. Yeah, Emanuel Macron, Politico says Emanuel Macron, not a fan of Trump, but he was one of the first people to call Trump when he won. Yeah, Let's see who else. Australia's ambassador to the U.S. and former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. He had to scrub his Twitter, his X, because of all the nasty things he was calling Trump. The most destructive president in history. That's what he labeled Trump in 2020. And he had to remove all of that stuff. Oh, Kevin Rudd, you bad boy. You bad boy. And John Sweeney, Scotland's first minister, who actually endorsed Harris. He endorsed Harris. Ooh, bad move. Bad move. Now he's sending his congratulations to the president-elect on his election, John Sweeney of Scotland, saying that Scotland and the USA share many social, cultural, and economic links. Trump loves Scotland. I believe his family is from Scotland. He loves Scotland. Why would John Sweeney be saying bad things about him? Why would he support Harris? Why would you do such a thing? Trump is a son of Scotland. Why would you go against him, dude? I mean, this stuff is like logic, man. I don't understand these leaders. Putin's right. They really do lack a brain. He's right, man. Jeez, these guys. If I was the first minister of Scotland, I would be praising Trump because of his Scottish investments, heritage. He does have a Scottish heritage, doesn't he? Yeah, I believe he does. I would be happy. I would be like building it up. I would be saying this guy came from Scotland. That's like something to talk about. But nope. I'm going to support Harris. I'm going to endorse Harris. Oh, man. All right. Let's do some clown worlds. That wasn't even my clown world, everybody. Let's do some clown worlds. By the way, Trump, he picked Susie Wiles to be his chief of staff. The first woman chief of staff in history. That misogynist Trump. Man, he's such a misogynist. How dare you pick a woman as your chief of staff? You're misogynist, which is a Greek word. Misos, is hatred, and gineka, misogynist, gineka, is women, the hatred of women. And misandrist, which is the hatred of men, is also hatred, misos, and misandrist, the hatred of men. Greek words, misandrist and misogyny, misogynist. Misogynikis, misandros. How dare he put a woman as his chief of staff? Man, Trump is just full of hate. Full of hate. Oh boy, Jimmy Kimmel, late night TV talk show host. Jimmy Kimmel, he had a meltdown. Man, this is a long video. This will be my one clown world for the day. I've been talking a lot this evening. Jimmy Kimmel had a meltdown during his show, and he started crying, man. Get a grip, dude. He started crying because Trump won. This is a grown man, multi-millionaire. He has his own talk show in the U.S., grown man. He started crying. The best part about it was that he actually started to cry as he was talking about how Trump was going to pull out money from NATO and possibly stop funding Project Ukraine. That's when he started to break down in tears. What a freak, man. What a weirdo, man. That's just weird. Start crying about NATO? Crying about Project Ukraine? Jimmy Kimmel? Oh boy. All right, that's the video, everybody. Zakharova, one more clown world. Zakharova actually pointed out that Trump, at one point in time, and Elon Musk, are on the ETHEREUM, the Ukraine kill list. But Zakharova is now saying that Trump has been removed from the database of the ETHEREUM. Elon Musk, I believe, is still on it, by the way. All right, that's the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. We have our new college collection, which is very cool merch. Check it out at the Duran shop. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.